The stars were cold, distant points of light against the endless blackness of space. Ethan Cole gripped the controls of his small spacecraft, the Aurora, as a storm of cosmic particles battered the hull. He had traveled many light years from Earth, seeking quiet, adventure, and perhaps a sense of meaning beyond the ordinary human life he had known. But now chaos reigned. Warning alarms blared, lights flickered, and a sharp jolt threw him against the seat. The navigation system was dead, the engines sputtering. Ethan cursed under his breath, tightening his seatbelt. He tried to reroute power, but the console sparked and hissed. The ship trembled violently, spinning uncontrollably. Outside, a swirl of luminous clouds reflected the colors of an alien nebula. Then a bright flash of light blinded him. When he opened his eyes, the world had changed. The storm was gone. Below him stretched a planet of emerald forests, deep blue oceans, and mountains that glimmered with strange minerals. It was beautiful, alive with colors no human had ever named. Ethan's hands moved automatically. He adjusted the controls, steering toward a landing zone among the trees. The landing was rough, throwing him forward as the craft skidded over soft moss. But the Aurora held together, and he exhaled, wiping sweat from his brow. He was alive. The forest was silent except for the gentle rustle of leaves. Birds of vivid, shimmering colors flew above, their calls musical and unfamiliar. Ethan stepped out, taking in the alien landscape. The air smelled sweet, like flowers he had never seen. And then he noticed something that made him stop, a figure approaching through the mist. She walked with grace, her movements deliberate like a dance. Her skin shimmered faintly under the sunlight, and her eyes, large, expressive, and almost glowing, locked onto him. She wore flowing robes that seemed woven from liquid light, and a small crown rested upon her forehead. Ethan swallowed. This was no ordinary human. This was royalty, or at least she carried herself as if she were. "I am Princess Lyra of Lysara," she said, her voice soft but commanding. "Why have you come to our world, stranger?" Ethan straightened, trying to appear calm. "Name's Ethan Cole. I didn't mean to come here. My ship was damaged in a storm." Lyra studied him carefully. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Humans are rare visitors. Your kind is known in stories to bring change. Some say danger follows you. Others say hope." Ethan chuckled nervously. "I'm not here to cause trouble, just looking for somewhere to repair my ship, maybe. Survive." Her gaze softened for a moment, then hardened again as if weighing his words. Behind her, the forest shifted and several figures stepped into view. Tall, elegant beings with pale, almost luminescent skin. They were guards, silent and alert, their weapons strange but non-threatening. "You will come with us," Lyra commanded. "You must be examined. My council will decide if you are friend or foe." Ethan hesitated. He had faced soldiers before, but these beings were different. Their presence was calm yet imposing, almost otherworldly. But there was no choice. He nodded and allowed himself to be guided through the trees. The journey to the palace was unlike anything he had imagined. The forest opened into a city built within massive crystal towers that seemed to grow from the ground. Bridges made of transparent material arched gracefully between towers. Waterfalls flowed upward as if gravity had a different rule here. Ethan's mouth went dry. This civilization was advanced, yet their world felt alive in ways humans had forgotten, intimate, organic, and beautiful. At the palace, Lyra led him into a grand hall. Light bounced off the crystal walls, creating patterns like dancing stars. She gestured for him to sit, while her council of elders observed silently. Their expressions were unreadable, yet Ethan could feel their thoughts probing him, assessing every detail. "You claim to be a human," said one elder, her voice like wind through leaves. "Why should we trust you?" Ethan took a deep breath. I can't prove it. I can only say I mean no harm. I am alone, my ship is broken, and I want to survive." "That's all?" the council murmured among themselves. Lyra raised a hand. "Let him speak. He is our guest for now." Ethan nodded, unsure what to say next. Then, almost instinctively, he reached into his pack and pulled out a small device, an instrument he had built himself. It was simple yet elegant. He pressed a button and a soft melody filled the hall. It was music, but unlike any music the Lysarians had heard. It carried warmth, longing, hope, and sorrow all at once. The notes resonated in the crystal walls, filling the space with emotion. Ethan closed his eyes, letting the song flow through him. He felt it immediately. The council shifted, their expressions softening. Their strict formal demeanor relaxed. Lyra's eyes glistened. She stepped closer, mesmerized. "Human, Your music, she whispered. It touches something within us. I have never felt such emotion before. Ethan opened his eyes. He had never sung for anyone else, especially not for beings from another world. Yet here in this palace, his voice, his humanity was understood. He continued, pouring all his fear, hope, and experience into the song. The council watched silently, unable to move, unable to speak. Lyra's hands trembled as she covered her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. Do not stop, she pleaded softly. The melody reached the last note, fading into silence. The hall was still. Ethan was breathless, but he noticed the change. The council looked at him differently now. Curiosity replaced suspicion. Interest replaced fear. Lyra's expression was filled with awe and gratitude. This is remarkable, the eldest council member finally said. Your human ways. Your music. It is unlike anything we have known. Perhaps humans bring something we have lost. Lyra smiled at Ethan, her eyes glistening. Please, stay. Teach us more, Ethan's heart pounded. He had come to survive, to find shelter. Yet here he was being asked to share his humanity with an entire civilization. And for the first time in a long while, he felt hope. Real hope. Outside, the sky began to glow with the setting suns, casting golden and violet light across the palace. Ethan realized he was not just a visitor. He was part of something bigger, an encounter that could change the fate of an entire world. He nodded. I'll stay. For now. Lyra's hand brushed his, a gesture of trust and connection. For the first time, the gap between human and alien seemed smaller, bridged by something simple yet powerful, emotion. That night, as Lysera's moons rose and the city shimmered under their light, Ethan lay awake listening to the strange, harmonious sounds of the palace. He knew challenges were coming. This world was not without danger. But he also knew something precious. Human courage, creativity, and emotion could touch even the farthest stars. And in that moment, he realized that survival was only the beginning. Humanity's true strength, their ability to inspire, to connect, to create, had found a new home among the stars. The horizon glowed with the approaching lights of the Varathi fleet. This time there was no element of surprise. Ethan stood beside Princess Lyra on the palace balcony, watching the enemy advance. The humans and Lysarians had prepared, yet he knew the real strength would not come from technology alone. It would come from unity, courage, and creativity. Lyra's voice was calm, but resolute. The people of Lysera look to us. Today we show them what we can achieve together. Ethan nodded. Then let's give them hope. Inside the palace, a massive hall had been transformed into a control and music center. Hundreds of Lysarians were stationed at instruments and consoles, their hands and minds ready to channel the sonic defense Ethan had designed. The human improvisation blended with Lysarian precision created a symphony that pulsed through the city's shields and outward into space. As the Varathi ships entered Lysaran space, the waves of sound reached them. The alien fleet faltered immediately. Navigation disrupted, communication scrambled, instincts confused. Lysarian warriors moved with grace and efficiency, striking with precision while Ethan guided the harmonics, adjusting frequencies to maintain maximum effect. The battle unfolded like a complex dance. Ethan's human creativity allowed the defenders to adapt to unexpected maneuvers, while Lyra coordinated with calm authority. Together they became the heart of Lysera's defense. Despite the chaos, Ethan noticed individual acts of courage among the Lysarians. A young pilot maneuvering her ship with skill he hadn't seen before, a technician improvising a repair mid-combat, and musicians who held their rhythm perfectly even as enemy beams struck nearby. It reminded him of humanity's resilience, ordinary beings doing extraordinary things under pressure. Hours passed. The Varathi struggled to regain cohesion, their attacks scattered and ineffective. Finally, a massive crescendo, a combination of human improvisation and Lysarian orchestration, was unleashed. The vibrations moved through the enemy fleet, creating disorientation so complete that the Varathi began to retreat, one by one. Lyra's eyes shone with relief and pride. Ethan, we did it. Your music, your courage, saved Lysera. Ethan shook his head. We did it. Everyone here fought bravely. I only helped guide the effort. The city erupted in celebration. Citizens poured into the streets, cheering and singing in gratitude. Lysarian technology had proven formidable, but the human touch, the improvisation, the creativity, the emotional insight had been the turning point. In the aftermath, Lysara's council officially recognized Ethan as an ally, a teacher and a protector. The factions that had doubted him now saw the value humans brought: courage, creativity, and a unique perspective that complemented Lysarian discipline. That evening, Lyra invited Ethan to the palace gardens. The air was fragrant, the fountains glowing softly under twin moons. She took his hand, her expression warm and sincere. "Ethan, Lysara is forever changed because of you. Not just for the victory, but for the hope and unity you have inspired." Ethan felt a surge of emotion. "I came here seeking survival," he said. "But I found something far greater: purpose, friendship, and a place where humans and Lysarians can work together. I want to stay, not just as a protector, but as someone who helps build the future with you." Lyra smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "Then you shall. Together, we will ensure Lysara thrives, stronger, wiser, and united." In the weeks that followed, Ethan continued to teach the Lysarians about human innovation, problem-solving, and creativity. He helped develop new strategies combining Lysarian technology with human insight. Music became a symbol of unity, echoing throughout the cities and forests, inspiring courage and hope. Lysara flourished. The Varathi retreated, deterred not only by technology but by the unexpected strength of a united people guided by trust and creativity. And amid it all, the bond between Ethan and Lyra grew, rooted in mutual respect, shared purpose, and the simple power of connection. One evening, Ethan stood with Lyra atop the tallest crystal tower, gazing at the stars. "Humans have always dreamed of the stars," he said quietly. "But maybe we don't just explore. Maybe we inspire. Maybe we teach hope, courage, and creativity wherever we go." Lyra rested her head on his shoulder. "And Lysara is proof of that. You came to us by chance, but you became part of something greater. Humanity and Lysara, together we are stronger than any threat." Ethan smiled, feeling a profound sense of fulfillment. The journey had begun with survival, but it had led to triumph. Lysara's people had learned to trust and embrace the unexpected. The human spirit, its courage, creativity, and heart had bridged worlds, saved a civilization, and forged bonds that would last for generations. As the moons cast silver light across the city, Ethan understood the truth. Humans had a place in the universe, not as conquerors, but as allies, teachers, and friends. And in that knowledge he found peace, purpose, and the promise of a bright future among the stars. The peaceful skies of Lysara darkened as shadows stretched across the forests and crystal cities. Ethan Cole stood on a balcony of the palace alongside Princess Lyra, peering into the blackness above. The sensors in the palace walls blinked rapidly, confirming what they both feared. The Varathi fleet was approaching, massive ships slicing through space like silent predators. "They're close," Lyra said, her voice calm but tense. "Our scouts report at least 20 warships. They will arrive in hours." Ethan nodded, surveying the palace defenses. Shields hummed faintly around the city, designed to withstand environmental hazards and minor attacks. But the Varathi were not minor threats. They were conquerors, swift and ruthless. Lysara's warriors were skilled yet inexperienced in large-scale combat. "We need a plan," Ethan said. "We can't just rely on shields and walls. We need to think differently." Lyra looked at him, her eyes reflecting trust and urgency. "What do you suggest, human?" Ethan took a deep breath. "Music," Lyra blinked. "Music?" he nodded. "It's what we've been working on. Your instruments, my improvisation. Together we can use sound waves to confuse them. The Varathi rely on coordination and instinct. If we disrupt their senses even for a short time, it could give your warriors an advantage." The council elders murmured among themselves, some skeptical, some intrigued. Lyra raised her hand. "Let us try. Ethan, you lead this. Teach us." For the next hours, the palace transformed into a hub of preparation. Ethan directed the Lysarians, combining their precise technology with his improvisational creativity. He adjusted instruments to emit harmonic pulses, frequencies designed to interfere with the Varathi's neural responses. They worked tirelessly, testing each sequence, fine-tuning the sound to perfection. As they prepared, Ethan had a chance to observe the Lysarian warriors. They were disciplined, tall, and graceful, moving with precision and calm confidence. Yet he noticed a difference. They rarely relied on instinct or improvisation. Everything was planned. He realized that human unpredictability could complement their perfection. When the Vorathi fleet appeared on the horizon, the city held its breath. Massive ships with angular designs blocked the stars, their dark metal glinting ominously. Ethan felt a surge of adrenaline, a familiar sensation from his days as a soldier on Earth. Fear existed, but it was tempered by focus. Lyra turned to him. "Are you ready?" Ethan nodded. "We'll start slowly. Build the waves, then amplify gradually. Trust the process." The first pulse of music began softly, carried through the crystal instruments. Vibrations moved through the air, subtle but persistent. Ethan adjusted the frequency, blending in human improvisation that Lysarians could barely follow. He felt the energy shift in the hall, resonating with the palace itself, echoing outward. Outside, the Vorathi warships hesitated. Their coordinated formation wavered as the sound waves reached them. Sensors and neural links, mechanisms the aliens used to maintain unity, flickered in confusion. Their ships drifted slightly off course, their attacks less precise. Ethan's heart raced. "Keep it steady," he instructed the Lysarians. "Don't stop now." Lyra moved among the musicians, conducting with fluid motions, her fingers guiding the harmonics. She had learned quickly, blending discipline with a touch of human unpredictability. Together they amplified the waves, creating a rhythmic disruption that spread across the battlefield. The Vorathi attempted to retaliate. Energy beams streaked toward the city, but the disrupted perception slowed their targeting. Shields absorbed most of the impact, and Lysarian warriors used the brief confusion to strike, their movements precise and lethal. Ethan noticed a small warship attempting to flank the palace. Without hesitation, he grabbed a Lysarian console and adjusted the sound waves, focusing pulses toward the approaching vessel. The ship shuddered violently, its crew disoriented, unable to coordinate. It spun away, eventually retreating into the shadows of space. Lyra's voice cut through the chaos. "It's working. Keep pushing." Hours passed in a blur of sound, light, and tension. Ethan rarely stopped, adjusting frequencies, blending harmonics, guiding Lysarian warriors in tandem. His human intuition filled gaps that Lysarian technology could not predict. Slowly, the Vorathi began to falter. Their attacks grew erratic, their formations breaking apart. Finally, a larger wave of sound, a crescendo designed to overwhelm the enemy's senses, was unleashed. Ethan conducted with all his strength, feeling the music flow through him, connecting him to every instrument, every Lysarian musician. The pulse surged outward like a living force. The Vorathi warships staggered, then retreated, their signals disrupted and coordination shattered. Lysara's city remained unscathed, its people cheering, though many were unaware of the silent battle that had just taken place. Lyra approached Ethan, her eyes shining. "You did it. Your human ways saved us." Ethan shook his head. "We did it. You fought with me. Your people's courage is incredible. The music just gave you a chance to show it." She smiled, placing a hand on his arm. "You have taught us something precious, Ethan. Not just tactics, but hope, resilience, and trust. Lysara will remember this day forever." Even as the city celebrated, Ethan knew the threat was not over. The Vorathi could return, perhaps stronger and more determined. But Lysara now had a new tool, a new strategy, and most importantly, a bridge between human creativity and Lysarian precision. That evening, Ethan and Lyra walked through the palace gardens. The flowers glowed softly in the moonlight, their petals reflecting colors that did not exist on Earth. The air was calm, the danger temporarily past, yet the weight of what had occurred hung in the silence. "You were amazing today," Lyra said softly, breaking the quiet. "I have never seen anyone face danger like that." Ethan shrugged modestly. "Humans have survived worse. We adapt, we improvise, and we protect those who matter." Lyra looked at him, a mixture of admiration and something deeper in her gaze. "You matter to Lysara, Ethan, more than you know." They stopped at a fountain, water spiraling upward in a display of Lysarian technology. Ethan listened to the gentle gurgle, his mind replaying the battle. He had come to Lysara by chance, seeking survival. Now he felt a purpose, a reason to stay and fight for more than himself. Lyra's hand brushed against his, a gesture of connection and trust. "Tomorrow we must prepare," she said. "The Varathi may return. But tonight, let us celebrate survival, courage, and the bond we have forged." Ethan nodded. "Agreed, but remember this bond? It's more than just survival. It's hope, and hope can change everything." They returned to the palace where the Lysarians held a quiet ceremony, honoring the warriors and the musicians who had turned the tide. Ethan stood beside Lyra, accepting nods of respect and gratitude. He had not expected this: recognition, admiration, and trust from beings so different from humans. Yet it filled him with pride. That night, as he lay in his chamber, Ethan reflected on what had happened. Lysera was more than a beautiful planet. It was a civilization capable of greatness, yet it needed something humans could offer: courage, creativity, and emotional insight. He thought of Lyra, her eyes filled with trust and emotion, and he knew their connection was growing stronger. Together they could face the Varathi, and perhaps even reshape Lysara's future. And for the first time since leaving Earth, Ethan felt at home, not on a distant planet, not in a palace of crystal, but in the bond between human and Lysarian, forged in courage, creativity, and shared purpose. As the moons rose high over Lysara, casting silver light across the forests and towers, Ethan understood something profound. Humans had a place in the stars, not as conquerors, not as strangers, but as allies, teachers, and friends. The battle had been won, but the war for the future was just beginning. And Ethan, human among aliens, would be ready. The morning light filtered through the crystal towers of Lysara, painting the palace halls in soft hues of blue and gold. Ethan Cole awoke to the gentle hum of the city outside and the faint scent of alien flowers drifting through the open windows. It was unlike any dawn he had ever experienced on Earth, a living symphony of sound, light, and fragrance. He stretched and glanced around the guest chamber that the princess had offered him. Though simple, it was elegant in a way he could not have imagined. The walls shimmered faintly with embedded crystals, and a soft, warm light seemed to emanate from the floor itself. The furniture was minimal yet functional, and every object seemed perfectly designed for comfort and efficiency. A soft knock at the door drew his attention. Before he could answer, it opened, revealing Princess Lyra herself. She wore a flowing robe of deep violet, the edges sparkling like stars, and her eyes were wide with curiosity. "Good morning," she said, her voice carrying the calm confidence of someone born to lead. "I hope you slept well." "I did," Ethan replied, standing. "This place, it's incredible." "I've never seen anything like it," Lyra smiled faintly. "And yet you survived a crash on our world. That is remarkable in itself." Ethan chuckled softly. "I guess humans are good at adapting." She tilted her head, intrigued. "Adaptation? Yes, that is a trait we admire, though humans are more emotional than we are. I have watched you play your music yesterday. It stirred something within me I cannot name. It is foreign, yet beautiful." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. Praise from a princess was unusual, but he sensed it was genuine. "Music has a way of connecting people," he said quietly. "Maybe it can do the same for different worlds." Lyra studied him for a long moment, then gestured for him to follow. "Come with me. I wish to show you something." They walked through the palace, their steps echoing softly in the crystal corridors. The city outside was alive with activity. Lysarians moving gracefully across the bridges, some carrying delicate instruments, others tending gardens that seemed to float in the air. Ethan marveled at the way their technology seemed to blend with nature rather than dominate it. Finally, Lyra led him to a vast hall filled with intricate devices and musical instruments. Some were clearly mechanical, yet they seemed to respond to thought rather than touch. Others were organic, made from living plants and crystals. "These are our instruments," she explained. "We have music, but it is different. Structured, precise, lacking the emotion you bring. Your songs yesterday awakened something we have long forgotten." Ethan walked among them, touching a crystalline string lightly. It vibrated under his fingers, producing a tone both soft and vibrant. "I think we could create something together," he said, excitement growing. "Something that combines your precision with my unpredictability." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Show me." For the next several hours, Ethan taught her simple melodies from Earth. He showed her how to bend notes, how to add pauses that carried meaning, and how to let the music tell a story. Lyra listened intently, her fingers trembling as she mimicked his movements. Gradually, she began to understand the human way of expressing emotion through sound. "You are remarkable," she said after a particularly moving sequence. "Your music tells of sadness, joy, hope, all at once. We have instruments, yet we never used them this way. You make them speak," Ethan smiled. "Humans have survived through creativity. We make art, stories, songs, even in the hardest times. It keeps us alive in more ways than one." Their bond grew with each shared note. Lyra laughed when she hit a wrong note, her melodious voice ringing out in the hall. Ethan found himself smiling, something he hadn't done in a long while. In that moment, she was not a princess and he was not a stranger. They were two beings discovering connection in a universe full of uncertainty. But their joy was not to last. Outside Lysara, dark signals rippled through space. The Varathi, a warlike alien species known for conquering worlds with brutal efficiency, detected the Lysarian energy signatures and interpreted them as weakness. Their warships moved silently, preparing to strike. Back in the palace, Lyra sensed a disturbance, a tension that ran through her people like an electric current. "Something is wrong," she murmured. "I can feel it. My scouts report unusual readings near our borders." Ethan frowned. "Could it be an attack?" Lyra nodded grimly. "Possibly. Lysara has been peaceful for generations, but there are those in the galaxy who see our isolation as an opportunity." The council convened immediately. Ethan watched as Lyra stood at the center, her presence commanding attention. The elders discussed strategies, defenses, and diplomatic options, yet their debate was slow, measured, almost hesitant. Ethan cleared his throat. "If I may," he said, stepping forward. "On Earth, we face threats all the time. We improvise, adapt, and use creativity to survive. Maybe we can combine your technology with some new tactics, something unexpected, something that could give you an advantage before a fight begins." The council exchanged glances. Lyra's gaze, however, was fixed on him. "Explain," she said softly. Ethan pulled out his small portable device, the one he had used to play music. "Music can affect emotion and focus. On Earth, we use rhythm to coordinate teams, calm crowds, even deter animals. What if we use sound combined with your instruments to confuse or slow an enemy? Your technology can amplify it, create waves that affect perception." A murmur ran through the council. Some elders looked skeptical, others intrigued. Lyra's eyes shone with possibility. "Do it," she said decisively. "Let us try." For the next several days, Ethan worked with the Lysarians. He adapted their instruments, creating harmonic pulses that could influence behavior. He taught Lyra to conduct these patterns, to blend her natural precision with human improvisation. Slowly, the palace halls echoed with music that was unlike anything Lysara had heard. Emotional, powerful, unpredictable. During these sessions, Ethan learned more about Lyra and her people. Lysarians valued logic, harmony, and collective well-being above all else. Individuality was respected but rarely celebrated. Humans, by contrast, prized emotion, courage, and personal expression. Ethan's presence challenged them, but it also brought out qualities they had long suppressed. Lyra often stayed late, practicing with him in private. "Your music, it makes me feel," she admitted one evening, her eyes glistening, "not just the melodies, but life. It reminds me that even in duty there is room for joy, for sorrow, for hope." Ethan smiled. "That's what humans do. We survive by feeling. We fight not just with weapons, but with courage, with creativity, with heart." Their connection deepened, and Ethan realized he was beginning to care for her, not just as a friend or an ally, but as someone who had touched his soul in ways no one else had. He wondered if she felt the same. But the looming threat of the Varathi could not be ignored. Scouts reported warships approaching from the dark void. Lysara's defenses were strong but untested in actual battle. Panic would spread if the people knew how close danger was. Lyra turned to Ethan. "We will face them together. I trust your judgment and I trust your human ways. Teach us, guide us, and perhaps we can survive what is coming." Ethan nodded. "We'll find a way. Humans don't give up easily, and neither will you." As night fell over Lysara, the city shimmered under two moons. Ethan and Lyra stood on a balcony, overlooking the glowing crystal towers. The air was filled with the scent of alien flowers and the faint hum of energy flowing through the city. "We are different," Ethan said quietly, "but maybe that is our strength. Together we can do things neither of our worlds could do alone." Lyra smiled, brushing a strand of shimmering hair from her face. "Perhaps humanity has lessons for Lysera after all." Ethan felt a surge of hope. He had come seeking survival, but he had found connection, purpose, and a new kind of bravery. The bond between human and Lysarian was fragile, yet full of potential. And as the stars blinked above, distant and eternal, he knew that whatever challenges awaited, they would face them together. Music had brought them together, but trust and courage would carry them forward. And in the quiet of that alien night, Ethan understood that the adventure was only beginning.